It is Monday, October 27th, 2025. Good evening, everybody. I'm Nate Eaton. Thank you for being here for Courtroom Insider. Hope you had a great weekend. We got some snow this morning here in Idaho Falls. Light flakes, it didn't stick. The ground was wet. Definitely felt brisk in the air. I think winter is creeping in. If we can just hold off till the end of the week after trick-or-treating, I'll be happy. But it's about time. We've had a really good fall and we're ready. I guess we're ready for November, December. Thank you for being here tonight. We have a really interesting interview coming up in just a few moments with Sheryl McCollum. She's a crime scene investigator. You've probably heard her on Nancy Grace's show. She's done other media appearances, and she's going to talk to me about her new book and kind of her background, how she got into criminal law enforcement, what interests her. She's been to thousands of crime scenes over the years, and it is just really fun to talk to. We're going to talk with her. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to let me know where you're watching from, and if you have any questions. We're going to go to the Tyler Robinson court hearing. So this is the man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk last month in Utah. And he was in court today. Well, there was a court hearing, I should say. He wasn't actually physically in the courtroom. He appeared from the jail via WebEx, and his attorney was on the line. So were the prosecutors, the judge, and the judge was ruling on a series of motions that were filed. They held a closed hearing Friday to discuss them, and then the judge issued his ruling today. First thing that was on the docket is whether he should, Tyler Robinson, which, by the way, we did not see him today. Everybody else's camera was on. His camera was off. This is obviously a very deliberate move by his attorneys to not have his face out there. And so he was not on camera this afternoon, but he did speak. We did hear him for the first time. We heard him speak. Well, maybe he spoke at the first court hearing. Anyway, here is a little bit of what he said. It's very short.
Mr. Robinson, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
And that was it. That's all we heard from him. Then the judge went on to rule about the request from the attorneys, his attorneys, that he be able to wear street clothes. This is a common request. High-profile trials, they ask that the clients can wear street clothes because potential jurors could see footage of the suspect or the defendant. They could see them, and immediately in their mind, you think they're guilty or you could think they're guilty because of the way they're dressed. So the attorneys filed a motion that he could wear street clothes. The prosecution, I should say, objected to the request. Here is how the judge ruled.
The parties agree that during trial, a defendant has a right to appear in civilian clothing and that any restraints must be concealed from the jury. Mr. Robinson now seeks to extend those rights to all pretrial proceedings. The court considered each request separately. In relation to requests to appear in civilian clothing, Mr. Robinson asks to appear in civilian clothing at all pretrial hearings. He argues that the extensive media coverage of this case creates a real risk of prejudice if the public and potential jurors repeatedly see him in jail attire. The state, the sheriff's department, and the court security director opposed the request, arguing that jail clothing assists with safety and identification. The court has balanced these competing concerns. The case has attracted extraordinary public and media attention. Images of Mr. Robinson in jail clothing are likely to circulate widely and influence prospective jurors. Given the scale of that publicity, the risk of prejudice is significant. However, Mr. Robinson's, let me see here. As previously stated, Mr. Robinson sits before this court presumed innocent, and that presumption remains unless and until each element of every offense charged against him is proved beyond a reasonable doubt. To date, this has not occurred, and the presumption of innocence remains. Balancing these factors, the court finds that Mr. Robinson's right to the presumption of innocence outweighs the minimal inconvenience of permitting civilian attire, and Mr. Robinson shall be dressed as one who is presumed innocent. Accordingly, the defendant's request to appear in civilian clothing for all pretrial proceedings is granted.
So he's allowed to wear street clothes. Now, the second request that they had was that he not have to wear shackles, handcuffs, restraints. Again, their argument is that if somebody sees that, it could prejudice their decisions about whether he's really a criminal or not, guilty or not. Here's how the judge ruled on that.
Mr. Robinson also requests to appear unrestrained during pretrial proceedings. He argues that visible restraints would prejudice potential jurors, undermine his dignity, and interfere with his ability to communicate with counsel. Rule 3-14 sub 9C of the Utah Rules of Judicial Administration requires that all in custody defendants be restrained unless otherwise ordered by the court. The court recognizes that Mr. Robinson has no criminal history and no record of misconduct while in custody. However, the charges he faces are extraordinarily serious, carrying potential penalties of life imprisonment or death. The safety of Mr. Robinson, the attorneys, court staff, and the public must remain the court's highest priority. The emotional nature of these proceedings also raise the risk of disruption. Given these factors, the defendant's request to appear without restraint is denied. The court directs the Sheriff's Department to conduct an individualized assessment and use the least restrictive restraints necessary to maintain safety. If those restraints impede the defendant's ability to communicate with counsel or take notes, counsel may renew the motion.
So he can wear street clothes, but he's got to stay restrained. And the judge did say that he was asking the jail, ordering the jail to put him in the least restrictive restraints. If I say that correct, like he still needs to be restrained, but don't go all out maximum, shackled head to toe. Just use some restraint on that. The other issue was cameras, which the judge, well, actually, let me play you a little bit of talking about the media in the courtroom and photography and videos. The judge had some interesting restrictions that he's placing on the media for all upcoming hearings. Here's what he said.
I wish now to also address the decorum and media restrictions. To mitigate any potential prejudice, the court will amend its standing decorum order. The media will be prohibited from photographing or visually recording Mr. Robinson's restraints and from photographing or recording him while entering, exiting, or standing in the courtroom. In making this amendment, the court has considered the factors in Rule 4-401.01 sub 2. This is a high-profile case with strong public interest. Restricting the recording of restraints strikes the proper balance between Mr. Robinson's right to a fair proceeding and the public's right to access and transparency.
Now, I have been in trials and hearings before where you're not allowed to shoot the defendant coming and going from the courtroom. I don't know. I was trying to think if I had ever heard of a judge issuing an order not to show their handcuffs or shackles. I'm sure it's happened. But I know with like Daybell, we were allowed to show the handcuffs. We were allowed to show the feet. And I know many of you ask, like when you see those shots, why do you guys show that? Who cares about her feet? Who cares about her handcuffs? Well, a lot of it is done for B-roll. It's called B-roll, which is extra video for on television when you're putting together what's called a TV package, a report. You want to have a variety of shots so that when the person's not talking, the reporter whose voice you hear talking, they need to cover that with video. So you could cut to, otherwise you have a bunch of jump cuts. So you have the defendant's face, then the reporter starts to talk. You can cut to their hands. You can cut to them writing on the table, their feet, cut back to the person in the court. So that's why you'll always notice shots, close-ups of the hands and the feet. I know Colby Ryan asked me that a few months ago. Like, why do you guys always show the feet? Well, that's why. So we can't, though. Not in this trial. The media can't. Now, will cameras be allowed in the hearings going forward? Here's what Judge Graff said about that.
The parties have stipulated that the state's request to hold non-evidentiary hearings virtually, as well as the parties' joint request to limit electronic media coverage, both require further briefing. Those issues are not yet ready for the court's decision. To facilitate that briefing, The court directs as follows. If the state wishes to have all non-evidentiary hearings conducted via WebEx, it must file a separate motion. The court will not rely on prior briefing. The standard timelines for response and reply apply, and the parties must file a request to submit and request a hearing if desired. If the parties seek to limit or restrict electronic media coverage, they may file a joint motion. Again, the court will not rely on prior briefing. That motion must address the factors set forth in Rule 4-401.01 sub 2 of the Utah Rules of Judicial Administration. Standard response and reply times apply, and the parties must file a request to submit once the matter is ripe for decision.
So we shall see what he ultimately rules on. The defense does not want cameras in there. I don't know anything about this judge. I know very little about this judge, I should say. I hope he allows cameras in. I think he will. It just, my gut says he will, but it'll be kind of restricted, like how it has been in a way, as far as one camera that the media uses is the pool camera, and then everybody plugs into that or has a link or something like that. So we'll see. Hopefully he does not ban cameras, because that when that goes to trial, there's going to be a lot of people that want to get in, and that will be, when it gets to trial, probably in 2 or 3 years. That will be coverage, I think, on all the networks. Everybody will be having it, and it'll be interesting to see. There won't be any more hearings until January. January 16th is the next court date. Now, the prosecution and the defense will file motions over the next few weeks and months, and maybe the judge will rule on the cameras, but there'll be things that come, and they'll be gathering evidence and discovery, but the wheels of justice go painfully slow in many cases. So if the next hearing's in January, the judge might set a trial date for the summer, but then that's going to be pushed off, especially because it's a death penalty case. So that is the latest on Tyler Robinson. If you want to watch the whole hearing, it's about 15-20 minutes. You can go on eastidahonews.com and check it out, and we will have the latest on there, and you can let us know your thoughts. Okay, now I want to head over to my interview with Sheryl McCollum. Sheryl McCollum. I spoke with her a little earlier, and Sheryl and I first heard about Sheryl years ago, the very first time I went on Nancy Grace in 2020. And I'm like, who is this really nice woman with a Southern accent? And then I met her at CrimeCon, and she was so nice. She is a crime analyst, college professor, author, founder, and director of the nonprofit Cold Case Institute Research based in Atlanta. She's a crime scene analyst for a television station, or she used to do that. And she has helped solve all sorts of crimes. And she speaks all over the country. And she has a new book coming out, which is fascinating. It's called Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer. Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer. Solving the cold case of the Flint River Killer's daughter. Let me read you the description from Simon & Schuster. When a serial killer's daughter is brutally murdered, he asks Sheryl McCollum to team up to catch her killer. Let me say that again. A serial killer's daughter is murdered. The killer asks Sheryl, a crime scene investigator, to team up to find the killer of his daughter. Pretty wild, huh? A little bit more about the book. A serial killer turns crime victim when his own daughter is the one viciously murdered. He asks law enforcement for help, but the case goes cold. Then he turns to Sheryl McCollum and the Cold Case Investigative Research Institute. There's never been a case like this in history. Sheryl and her team of experts get involved. They hatch a plan. What happens when Sheryl uses a serial killer as bait to catch a killer? Fascinating, huh? Again, it's called Swans Don't Swim in a River. Here is Sheryl McCollum. All right, Sheryl, how you doing?
I'm outstanding. How are you, honey?
I'm well. Good to see you. I think I first heard your voice and met you years ago on Nancy Grace's program, and I've
Yes.
since gotten to know you. Tell people who might be watching that maybe aren't quite familiar with your background. Give us a little bit of your background, what you've done, how you got interested in the true crime world.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, that's going way back, but I'll tell you, I was 4 years old and my mother used to tell fantastic stories on our way to some vacation spot.
Mm,
So when you got about an hour outside of Atlanta, headed to Florida, for example, there was no radio station. You couldn't pick anything up, especially if it was after 6 o'clock or so at night.
yeah.
So she would entertain the five girls. And one of the stories that I remember that absolutely knocked me out, one night we're driving on this little 2-lane Florida road lined with trees. You couldn't see any more than about 8 feet in front of you with the headlights. And that was way before car seats. So I was in the front seat, sitting in the middle on that little petition. And she started to tell us about Bonnie and Clyde and how they crisscrossed the country. They were madly in love and they robbed banks. And I just, for whatever reason, connected with them and just wanted to know all about them that I could. And so she would tell me as much as she felt was appropriate. She didn't tell me the ending, of course. She just told me about where they grew up in Oklahoma and, how they found their way to Missouri and other places. So, you know, once she kind of exhausted all that she could tell me without telling me how they died, then she told me about Babyface Nelson and Al Capone and John Dillinger, and it just never left me. I was
Mm.
always captivated.
Okay, so you go on to eventually do this as a career.
Yes. So I wanted to get in, just as quick as I could. And of course, you can't go to the police academy until you're 21. So about 17, I signed up to become a volunteer with the Rape Crisis Center at our largest hospital in Atlanta, Grady. And the reason I did that is because I could immediately have real cases and work with detectives. So that's what I did, once a month, all night long from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. That's what I would do. And
Wow.
they assigned me to Detective Black with APD, who taught me how to write reports, how to interview victims, how to connect cases if possible. He said, if somebody doesn't want to talk to me, but they'll talk to you. If you hear anything unusual, like something a perpetrator said or the way he entered the home, and you have heard it before, be sure to let me know, things like that. And I'll tell you today, it's one of the things that I will absolutely tell you is the best training I've ever had, you know?
I bet. I
So,
bet you learned, empathy and sympathy
mhm.
with working with those victims. You've gone on to, you're still working in law enforcement today.
Yes,
What do you do?
yes. I'm a crime scene investigator with a Metro Atlanta Police Department. So I'm right near the airport, right near downtown. We call it the bullseye. So, I mean, I'm on the dance floor still, ain't no doubt about it.
Yeah, so people hear the term crime scene investigator, we think of CSI, we think of the movies.
Yeah.
Is that accurate as far as what you do? And is it, are you responding to every crime? What do you go out to? And walk us through the process of when you get to a scene.
Sure. Well, some of it is absolutely accurate. I mean, some of the shows are wonderful. Some are a little maybe for TV, but it all helps. I mean, anytime you can get, people in high school or people in college interested and excited. I mean, I let TV work for me, honey. So if they think it's going to be you're in a Hummer and you get to go work with sexy detectives, yep, that's exactly what it is.
Right, right.
Come on and join us. Um, but basically, when you have a crime, and I'll just use homicide, that crime scene belongs to me, not the detective, not the coroner, not the medical examiner, me. That's my scene. I determine who goes in and who does not, and when they go in. So when you watch TV, and sometimes you'll have somebody roll up at a scene and go, hey, Fred, what do we got? And then Fred's like, oh, this guy fell off a ladder and broke his neck or whatever. I don't ever ask that question because I don't want to know what you think. I want to know what I think, and then I'll ask you. So that's the only thing that I kind of really disagree with TV about
Mhm.
because I don't want anybody to put in my head, oh, this was an accident or this was a suicide. And then I may just miss something because I've already got accident in my head. So I want to be able to go in and first determine, what do I see? What does this look like? What can I pinpoint that this is probably relevant? This is evidence. This is something that surely we need to take. And I'm one of those people, Nate, I'll tell you, I tend to take everything. Whether I know how it fits in yet or not, I may a year from now realize how that one photograph is relevant or why that Bible was relevant. But if I never figured out, what's the harm? I took it.
Isn't that true? I mean, even with news, when we go to a scene, like, we have one of our reporters at a homicide scene right now, and it's like,
Yes.
photograph everything, video everything, because
Yes.
you could get back and in 6 months be like, wait, the suspect is this person? We have video of him. So I totally get
We
what
have
you're
video.
saying. Yeah.
And listen, you and I, our jobs are very similar. And I don't know if this happens to you, but sometimes you can video a scene, you can take still photographs. When you go back and you're looking through those photographs, you'll see something you didn't even see in person.
Mhm.
I don't know how that happens because we're almost trained, lock in on everything. And somehow I missed a small crack bag. How? But I
Right.
did, but it's in that photograph.
Right.
So if I'm looking at my camera in the car and the scene is still active, the tape is still up, I'm just kind of reassessing, I can go back and collect it. But
Right.
somehow I didn't see it. And like y'all, even if you're in the van looking through tape because you're about to have to go live and you've got to show them something, you may see, wait, I didn't even know there was a tree house.
Mhm.
That means that person could have field of vision in their neighbor's backyard and
I
you
know.
missed it.
And
Law
it's so
enforcement
easy
missed it.
now with these things to
Oh,
just,
honey, everybody's a
Yeah.
reporter. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So how many scenes have you been to, would you say, over your career?
Oh, good Lord. I couldn't tell you. It always fascinates me when I hear somebody go, I responded to X number. I have no idea. I mean, you're talking about 44 years. I responded to a lot.
Is there
lot.
anything that is even too much for you? Because that some of our viewers are going to be like, I can never do that. It's too gruesome. It's too graphic.
Mhm.
What are the hardest things to respond to? And have you ever had to say, you know what, I can't take this one?
I've never said I can't take this one. But I have certainly had to take a break. 2000, I had a baby. 2003, I had another baby. Prior to that, working child cases were difficult and they were sad. But once you have a child, oh my gosh, it just flips this switch. Everything is different. Everything is better and everything can be worse.
Yeah.
So you think, oh, taking the baby to see the ocean for the first time. How fun is that? The Easter Bunny is a blast. Santa Claus, you can't wait. Showing them anything, a baseball game for the first time, take them to the swimming pool for the first time, all of those things. The idea that somebody has lost that, it got to, used to be where maybe I could work a case and I wouldn't even get teary-eyed. I'm going to get teary-eyed now.
Yeah. Yeah.
If not, have to go to the car for a minute. Again, you can take evidence back to the car and secure it. You can go back to the scene. You can, convene with some of your coworkers and make sure, hey, we need to do another walkthrough. Let's do this together. So you can take breaks while you're actively working something just to make sure you can, handle it as professionally as you possibly can.
Right.
But I mean, you're a human being, so,
True. And I imagine too, Cheryl, in a way that, I'll have to cover these horrible cases. I don't know how to describe it to people, but I kind of get in work mode. It is horrible to hear. It's horrible to see, but you also are there to do the job. And so you can't have a news reporter who's constantly crying on the air or no one's going to watch it. You can't have a crime scene investigator who's going to break down and have,
that's right.
So we're built differently. Obviously everybody is differently. And you're the type of person that I know can go and get the job done, but you still have feelings. You still have emotions.
Sure.
You're still personable. You can deal with people. Has there been one case though, over the years or two that at the top of your mind is always going to be there that really impacted you?
Oh, absolutely. Tons of them. And they impact me for different reasons. Something that somebody might have said, something that I saw, something that I thought maybe, am I missing something? Because we never could get an arrest. There's a lot that are going to affect you in different ways. Some, maybe even positive, I like to think. But, I tell people a lot of times, my son Huck was a goalie for the lacrosse team at the University of Alabama. And he would sometimes just get on himself if he missed a shot. But I used to tell him, even when he was in middle school, in order for somebody to shoot and score a goal on you, everybody else has to fail. And that's just a fact. You're the last shot. Well, that's how I see myself too. If not me, then who? If I'm not going to be able to go in there and find that bullet hole in that door or in that wall or find the knife that he thought he hid or whatever, who's going to do it? I'd much rather it be me because I know I'm not leaving until I find it. I'm not in a hurry, so and I work with people that feel the same way, which is awesome. But, for me, it's one of those things. If there's a footprint on a wall, I'll cut the wall out and I'm taking the footprint. A photograph is not good enough for me. I want it.
Well, I remember the story you told on the crime cruise last year about the little adorable little girl that was found who had with the broomstick. I won't get into the gory details now, but I mean those are the type of cases that I would imagine kind of stick with you as well.
Absolutely.
So
I can hear, like you, I guarantee it. If you're in the car and a song is on and then you have a horrible call to go somewhere, every time you hear that song, you're going to think of that case. So, I mean, it happens, but again, if not me and you, then who? I mean, somebody's got to go. Somebody's got to tell the story. Somebody's got to make people care. Somebody's got to tell people, hey, this is going on. Are there other victims out there? Is this person on the run? Have you seen him? The general public helps solve cases all the time. You know that. I mean, it's a gift what you do. And like I've told people, so often about you. And I'm like, he went to Hawaii and track that woman down. I mean, that's not somebody that's just going to sit in the studio and go, hey, this is a really bad case. This is super sad. Hope they find her. No, you got up, you got your butt on a plane, you left your friends and your family and your children. You went out there and tracked her down. If not for you, we would have lost a huge component on that trial, period.
Well, the thing is too, and I didn't know before I went that that's what's going to happen. So I guess my advice to anybody out there is take the chance because you never know what will happen. I want to ask Cheryl, how did you get involved? So Cheryl is the host of Zone 7, the podcast. You should go listen to it, where she tells these true life, true crime situation stories. How did you get involved in the media angle of this? Because you're so good at it. You're such a good speaker. But you're also working full time as a crime scene investigator. Like what kind of, how did you, tiptoe into the media to the fact that now you have a full blown podcast?
I did not choose friends correctly. That's what happened. So when I was assigned to the major case division with the crime commission, the DA that was assigned to us was Nancy Grace. Nancy, the first time I met her was at a crime scene. Y'all, we're working. This little bitty car pulls up fast as lightning. This little bitty person jumps out. What do you got? What's going on? How can I help? And I'm like, what in the world? Who is that? What is that? And Jim Birch with the GBI said, oh, that's Nancy Grace. She's a prosecutor. Well, at that time, in the early 90s, I had never seen a prosecutor outside the courthouse in my life, much less at 2:45 in the morning at an active scene. Well, she did come. There was a house with a detached garage. We had a search warrant. We're going to go in the house. We're going to go in the garage. She stops us and says that garage needs a second search warrant, possibly. She said it could maybe even have a different address. You don't ever know. Well, she saved the whole case. So I thought, yeah, I probably need to be friends with her. And we became fast friends. And fast forward, she became Nancy Grace.
Yeah.
And, she has me on the show, which is loyalty. She could have anybody on there, y'all. I'm flat telling you, she's a good friend to me. Well, about 4 years ago, she says, you need to do a podcast. I said, I don't know anything about a podcast. I ain't doing a podcast. I ain't got no time to do a podcast. She said, you need to, and I will help you. And she did. She found me a producer. She found me somebody that could, set it up for me and teach me how to do, just turning the computer on with the microphone.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really know how to do any of it. And I certainly, I don't know anything about editing something and putting it up on social sites. I don't know anything about all that. So she did all of that for me. So when it came time to figure out what to name it, I named it Zone 7. And the reason is, back in the day when me and Nancy worked together, Atlanta has only 6 police zones. So this was before cell phones and before pagers, Nate. If we wanted to get together and meet at a bar after work, which for us is Manuel's Tavern, that was our cop bar, we would go on the radio and say, hey, everybody, 5-9 at Zone 7 after shift. And so that way, people that had police radios or supervisors, we weren't saying anything inappropriate, and they never got it. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do one, I want my friends on it. I want them to, talk about how they did this case or how they, caught this person. So I called it Zone 7 because that's the way I still work today. I don't work a case that everybody doesn't come and help me.
I love that. I didn't know that story. That's great. So do the cops, do they still refer to the bar as Zone 7?
It's been a couple of rotations now.
Okay.
They may not now, but all of us old guards still do, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So you have written a book, and
Yes.
I want to hear all about it. It's available for pre-order right now, right?
Correct. Just pre-order. It doesn't come out until May.
Okay.
But go ahead and get it. Don't wait, y'all.
Yeah, pre-orders really help authors now. If you pre-order,
Yes.
then it gives the publisher an indication that people are interested in this. So it does help authors. So it's something that I always like to do. And then sometimes I might forget I pre-ordered, and then it arrives and I'm like, oh, goody, it's here. So you can do that right now with Cheryl's book. What's the name of it,
That's
Cheryl?
right.
And what's it about?
The name of it is Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer.
Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And what it's about is the Flint River Killer. His daughter was murdered, and he turned to law enforcement for help. The case went cold, and then he reached out to me through his daughter and through his wife for help. So it's literally how I helped a serial killer solve the murder of his daughter with communicating with him best we could while he was in prison for the murders that he committed in the 70s.
Wow. And it's
crazy.
True. It's a true story.
True story. So what happened was I was doing an event, and I was literally up on stage speaking, and this woman comes in, and everybody else is real dressed up. It's a fancy night event, and she's got on like Bermuda shorts, like a tank top and a straw hat. So she doesn't fit at all. So I'm watching her kind of. And then as she turns the corner, I notice she's holding an 8x10 frame. Well, I figured that's got to be a mama, and it's either got to be a missing person or a murder victim. So when I was done, I walked straight toward her, and she said, I need your help. And I said, what's going on? And she turned the frame around, and it was a picture of a beautiful girl. It looked almost like maybe a high school graduation picture. And she said, this is my daughter, Melissa. She was beheaded in Atlanta, and I need your help.
Oh my gosh.
The first thing that hit me, Nate, was how do I not know this case?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, with Zone 7, here's what happens. We all get together, and there's reporters in our group, Karen Greer being one of them. Karen would ask me, hey, have you heard this? Or some detective would say, you're not going to believe the case that I just got. But a young white female that's been beheaded in downtown Atlanta, I would have heard that somehow from somebody. Never heard a thing about it. So I was intrigued immediately, just from a career standpoint, how could I help her, and how can this case be out there? And I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
So I asked her, I said, this really isn't the time that I can sit and talk to you. Can you come to my office next week? So she comes to my office the next week. She has 2 big binders with her that she puts down on the table. Well, I instinctively reached for one of them because I want to get in this thing quick because I'm just so curious. Because now I've asked a couple of buddies, Leslie Saunders, my old partner, and some other folks. They're like, nope, never heard of it. I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, this is crazy. So when I went to reach for it, she put her hands on them and said, I know you agreed to help me, but I've got to tell you something first. And I just kind of leaned back and I said, okay. And she said, my husband is in prison for murder and I helped him.
Wow.
Well, that don't happen every day.
Yeah. Did that cause you pause? Did that make you think, hold up, should I really pursue this?
Oh, honey, not at all. The opposite. I was more ready to get on that horse because you and I, we deal with people that don't want to talk to us. And they
Right.
sure, Lord, don't want to tell us the truth. Well, she's sitting there telling me he's in prison for murder and she helped him. Please go on. I mean, I've
Yeah.
got to know more.
Yeah, good
Right?
point. Right.
Yeah.
Keep
So
talking.
she starts talking and she said in the 70s, he killed this person, that person, and threw him in the Flint River, and then killed this person, and they were placed in another river. And I said, hold on a second, because now a very vague memory. And I said, are you telling me your husband is the Flint River Killer? And she said, yes.
Mm.
And I said, but your daughter was murdered, beheaded. She said, yes. And I said, well, I'm just going to ask you straight out, did he kill her? And she said, no, that's why we're here. We need your help. And she said that her daughter, Tina, who worked at a diner, ran into a high school friend of mine. And Tina started telling her what happened to her sister. And she said, well, you need to, contact this buddy of mine from high school. And so Tina goes and tells her parents, and Carl tells Norma, get in touch with her, see what she charges, see what she thinks she can do, see how she thinks she can help. Well, at the Cold Case Investigative Research Institute, we don't charge anybody. We don't charge families. We don't charge law enforcement. So that was an easy sale. Then when I agreed to still help her, she was more than amenable to show me the whole case file. Well, as I started looking at the case file, I knew there was a few things we could possibly do right off the bat that hadn't been done. So that's where it all started back in
Wow.
2017.
Holy smokes. And I guess the book unveils the rest.
The book unveils the rest. I mean, it tells you, how I communicated with Carl for years through Norma. And then it was just time. I needed to talk directly to him. I needed to be able to legitimately say, I asked him point blank, did you kill her? I needed to get that off the table so we could move forward. He had a background that, here's the bottom line. Carl Patton was in prison. He deserved to be in prison. He did some incredibly heinous things, no question about it. There's a few differences in Carl and some other people that commit murder. Carl admitted what he did when he got caught. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
At least you admitted it. You're not going to put it, everybody through some, bogus trial. It also tells you how I dealt with the victim's family of Liddy Evans, her children. In that regard, I will say this. When you reach out to the children of a murdered victim, and they are now grown, and it's been 25 years, how those 5 children reacted to the murder of Melissa Wolfenberger will just give you just peace that human beings are awesome. All 5 of them were incredible. So I'll say that. And you're talking about, Melissa's father, Carl Patton, murdered their mother in a horrible way. But the way they reacted, just gives you faith is all I'm saying.
Right. Wow. Cheryl, where can people pre-order the book?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble right now. Those 2 sites are up and ready.
Okay. We'll put a link down in the description for those of you watching. You can click directly on that link. Again, the name of the book.
Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer.
Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer, and it's coming out in May.
Right.
And you can read all about it. Sounds like it might be one of those books too that you like read all at once. One of those binge ones that once you're in the story, it sucks you in. Is that, am I right?
Hope so.
Am I going to lose a weekend to the book, Cheryl?
I hope you do. I really do. I tell you, I'm not an author. I mean, you've got people like Catherine Ramsland that can write 37 books. This book took me a while, honey, and I had a lot of help. Believe me, my Zone 7 came through. Poor Walt McCollum. We've known each other, of course, since high school, and he helped me so much. He knows, I can't spell. And then I had an editor. I guess she's somewhere in a corner rocking back and forth, bless her heart. But, all my sisters and so many people, Alice from the prosecutors, Susan Hendricks. I mean, a lot of people helped. And, of course, Nancy Grace.
That's great. So are you working on anything else?
No, sugar, this is it. One and done. I appreciate y'all, but this took me a long time. And again, I don't know this is something I could pull off again.
Well, never say never.
All right.
I know
I appreciate it.
You've got enough content in your mind and in your experience that something good could come out.
Yes. I tell you, there are other cases that I would love to see in a book. I just don't know. I mean, you know what I mean? We'll see. We'll see how this one goes. If you lose a weekend, maybe I'll think about it.
Yeah, okay.
You call
I'll
me
keep
and
you
go,
posted.
Well, girl, I don't know. Just let me, I'm going to let y'all tell me. How about that?
That works. And I know you're going to be at CrimeCon again. I know it's far away.
Yes.
It's in May, but you can get your tickets now. And I think they're doing a price increase coming up here in a few weeks. So get your tickets. You can come and meet Cheryl. And Cheryl,
Yes.
I don't know, you posted this, I know, on your Facebook page, the woman that got a tattoo of you on her arm.
Yes. Well, she got a tattoo of my signature.
Right. Now, I guess you should say of you. Yes.
Not the portrait. No. Well, maybe that'll be next year. But
she'll add to it.
She was so cute. She came up to me and she said, would you sign my arm? And so I thought she was just being cute. So I signed it. And she said, I'm going to go get a tattoo. I said, what? I said, go wash that off. I've got to do better than that. I was just kind of scribbling. I got to do better. So she went and washed her arm. And sure enough, I did it again. The way I sign at CrimeCon, it's like a special signature that I have. And then underneath, I put 149, which is my badge number. So I sign the way I sign evidence bags. And I wanted it to be as perfect as it could be. Sure enough, when you and I were standing there talking, she walked back up to me to show me she'd got it done the night before.
That is your number one fan right there.
And listen, she is so sweet and so kind. She really kind of gravitated to the concept of Zone 7. And she said more than the podcast, she started to try to do that in her own life. That if somebody is not there and has your back and is a true friend and wants the best for you, get rid of them. If they're not cheering for you, why are they in your inner circle? They shouldn't be. Yeah. So that's what she did. So I was like, well, I'm all about that.
And now you're in her inner circle. You're permanently on her inner arm, at least, or outer arm.
Well, you were standing there. Yeah. And I asked her, I said, what are you going to do when you find out I'm a piece of crap? She went, please don't do that. I can't afford to have it removed.
I know. She can start a GoFundMe if you get arrested or something, or put your mugshot on her arm to add to it.
There you go. See, glass half full, people. If I go to jail, it'll be fine.
And I want the interview.
Done.
Awesome. Cheryl, thank you so much. It's so great seeing you again. And we look forward to checking out the book and keep us posted on anything else.
Listen, Nate, I appreciate you. This is the first interview I've ever done as an author. So I appreciate it.
Here you are. Well, good. I hope it's the best one too. I doubt that, but you were perfect.
Thank you, honey.
My thanks to Cheryl. I cannot wait to read this book. It sounds like such a fascinating case of twists and turns and all sorts of stuff. Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer is the name of the book. You can pre-order Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, Bookshop, Hudson Booksellers, BAM, which is Books A Million. I didn't know that. I just knew it as Books A Million. Cheryl says the pinnacle of her career, spanning over 44 years, was being inducted into the National Law Enforcement Officer Hall of Fame in 2023. And I want to say, if you want to meet Cheryl, she is one of the kindest people. At CrimeCon, she will talk to anybody and everybody. You go up to her, you talk to her, She will love to chat with you. You can use my code at crimecon.com, EATON, Eaton, and get 10% off the standard badge. Those badges likely will not be any cheaper. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised once they do a limited number of each badge and then they raise the price goes up. You're better off if you book them early and get them early and use that code and get 10% off. And that way you can be at CrimeCon in the spring in Vegas in May. It's a perfect gift for Halloween. Who gives gifts on Halloween? We don't. But Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all the holidays coming up. Surprise somebody with a gift to CrimeCon, and then you can meet me and Cheryl. So use that promo code Eaton at crimecon.com, and it'll be fun to see you there. And you can meet our friends at newspapers.com, the sponsor of Courtroom Insider, the amazing sponsor of Courtroom Insider. They're so much fun. They're at all the crime cons, and you can sign up, learn so much about your family history, about your neighbor's family history, about what was in your mom's small town newspaper 100 years ago, your grandpa's newspapers. There's over 1 billion page views on newspapers.com. You can spend the rest of your life looking up stuff, researching stuff. It's amazing how stories like this, the Sheryl McCollum story, I don't know if she used the archive on newspapers.com, but I know you can go back and research old cases and find out so many interesting things. And newspapers.com, they're your place. Thanks to them for sponsoring Courtroom Insider. And thank you for watching. I'd love for you to stay in touch all week. Here's where I'm at: Facebook, Instagram, I'm on X, I'm on YouTube, East Idaho News, Meeting the Eatons. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. We'd love to hear from you and would love to see you. And we have some interesting episodes coming up later this week. We probably won't be doing one on Halloween. You tell me. Maybe we could do a Courtroom Insider on ghost stories. If any of you have a good ghost story that's like true-ish, now it's got to be true. If you know of a good Halloween themed Courtroom Insider we could do on Friday, email me, reach out to me, and eaton@eastidahonews.com. And you know someone who can come on and talk about it. We'll record it early in the day so I can take my kids trick-or-treating, or we'll record it Thursday, but we'll air it Friday night. That might be fun. Yeah. Okay. Let me know. Again, a Halloween themed type of crime deals with courts. Maybe a Halloween that's not too graphic or gory, but interesting. Someone that can come on and talk about it. And we'll talk about it on this week for Halloween. But I hope before then, we'll have more Courtroom Insiders for you. Did I mention that there was a Tyler Robinson hearing scheduled for Thursday, which is not happening anymore? They vacated that. So that's not happening this Thursday. But anyway, that's the latest. So we'll see you again very soon here on Courtroom Insider. I hope you have a great night. Hope you snuggle in and get a good night's sleep. Thank you all for watching. Take care.